Sonic! I was running around outside Big Sonic and I found a weird, mysterious place that I've never been to before, Big Sonic. Well, Small Sonic, give me some sort of description of this weird, mysterious place. Big Sonic, it was filled with weird things that I've never seen before. It was covered up. There were people with like guns and they were waiting outside this place that I couldn't enter in. What's going on, Big Sonic? Well, Small Sonic, it would appear to be the case that that is a very restricted area and it's probably a place where something very valuable is and other people are trying to keep you away for a good reason. Big Sonic, that's not fair. I found that place and I want to go in. I'm sorry, Small Sonic, but you just have to stay put. That place is heavily guarded, you can't just walk in. Guys, topic of this video, guys. Oops, holding my toothbrush is going to be about down the rabbit hole. We're gonna go very deep down the rabbit hole. What is the rabbit hole? It's quite a mystery, but I wanted to really get into this basically. It's like a type of concept like the rabbit hole, basically. It's like a type of unknown. There's like, you know, like a rabbit digs a hole, but where does it lead to? It's kind of like that type of intrigue and mystery. It's the perfect way to describe our world, because our world, there's like a big fat rabbit hole that's like behind everything right now. There's like a rabbit hole. So we have to go down the rabbit hole to see where it all leads towards, you know what I mean? Rabbits dig holes and they burrow that deep. Maybe do rabbits dig holes? Maybe that's just like some sort of like cartoon mythology, something, I don't know. But down the rabbit hole, well, where am I going with this? I'm gonna be getting into a lot of like deep, fucking scary like conspiracies that may or may not be true, and I really want to kick all of it off by now talking about the fact that maybe perhaps this is actually regarding like extraterrestrials and aliens and UFOs. If you know a thing or two about any of this stuff, like aliens and UFOs and stuff like that, you should have heard a little bit about someone called Philip Schneider on the screen. I don't want to waste too much time explaining who he is. In a nutshell, he kind of was like related to some sort of incident called the Dulce base. Basically, he was like doing some sort of mining operation deep underground and he struck some tunnel pathway and he got into contact with the grey aliens and there was like a big fat skirmish. And he made a bunch of lecture videos. In some of his videos, he was talking about the fact that underneath all of our Earth's surface, there's like perhaps like an underground like cavern network where these aliens and other creatures from outer space, they burrow deep into the Earth and they create these tunnel pathways and stuff. And that is where, and they kind of do that and stuff. And that is like going on right now all across our. Wake up, Big Sonic. So that place that I was telling you about, Big Sonic, it is very, very insane, Big Sonic. It's got so much weird stuff. It's filled with weird items and things that I can't really describe properly. Well, Small Sonic, it does sound quite insane when you put it like that. Give me some more description of that place. Big Sonic, it's filled with weird items and it's filled with these things and it's heavily restricted and I could barely go near it. Well, Small Sonic, that does appear to be very whimsical indeed. Continue giving me more descriptions. Big Sonic, it's so weird. It's a place I've never been to. And I heard some, and it's not a place where you can easily see it on the telly or on anything that's resource available. Like there's no newspapers about this. This place is so weird, Big Sonic, and I found it, but it was heavily guarded. I couldn't go in. Well, it does seem to be a very mysterious place indeed. Very, very odd, very world. There's like deep underground military bases, and that's just to give you a little bit of a taste of where I'm going with this aliens, UFOs. There's other sorts of things similar to that down the rabbit hole, guys. If you look through all of our history, basically one of the things that would stick out to you is that there's always been like secret societies that have been twisting things behind the scenes. It's so genius once you think about that. Wouldn't that be the best way to exert your control, your power and influences by not by like directly going in front of people's faces and like pushing into them a bit and like being very obvious about your intentions? That's not the right way. Wouldn't it be much more wise and intelligent to like go behind the scenes and kind of puppeteer like the circumstances or of whatever, like the circumstances, the variables, whatever, you puppeteer things from a distance and you put in like puppets in your place
and you never directly experience any sort of harm or violence. There's always something else that's in the way that prevents people from knowing what you are all about. You know what I mean? Down the rabbit hole. If you look at our history, the Freemasons, the Bilderbergs, all these different secret societies and organizations and groups, they have been like puppeteering things from a distance, and it's so genius once you actually think about that. They don't like, so they never have to worry about any type of direct harm coming their way, because they're the games here, and there's like a game. Well, is that really the right word? Basically, it's like we exist in this sort of like playground. Think about like a playground, but the oligarchs, they are hovering. They're like outside of the playground, and so we don't even get to see them with our own eyes. Isn't that genius, guys? That we are all inside of a playground, but these oligarchical figures, the elite, whoever they may be, maybe perhaps the aliens as well. I don't want to get too much.
Big Sonic, can you help me understand why they would try and guard this very secret place? Well, Small Sonic, perhaps there's something going on, or there's a construction site or something similar, or maybe there's a good reason why you're not allowed in. Big Sonic, I was looking at it. It's so weird, that place. I saw weird things in there, Big Sonic, things that you and me would never believe in if we went there, or if we went there, you would see it and you might believe. But if I just talked to you about it like this, you probably would never believe it. The things I saw, Big Sonic, the things I saw. Well, Small Sonic, if it's so wild and insane, give me some more descriptions of the place. Well, Big Sonic, it's filled in a weird way. It's a place where different like forms of like weird stuff goes on, and there's different creatures I've never seen before, and so bizarre. And there's like weird creatures with guns, and they wear metallic suits. Okay.
That makes you, talking about like aliens and UFOs, this always makes people think you're a bit kooky. There's like a playground, etc. and stuff like that. And all of these like supernatural things are outside of this type of playground that you and the ordinary folk, we're all inside of like a playground basically. Obviously the people that control everything, they exist outside of this playground, this like type of like boxed caged reality that we're in. Almost like the Matrix as well. If you know anything about the Matrix, like a false reality, that we're all inside of like a false reality basically. And whoever is doing the controlling, they operate in a different, almost like a different world. They live like the elites, the oligarchs, they live in like their own gated communities, so there's no like direct harm coming their way. They're all like kind of almost like broken away from where we are in this like playground environment almost. It's so fascinating thinking about this. The elite, the oligarchs, they exist in this sort of like different dimension and reality, and us common ordinary folk, we're in like a playground. It's so fascinating to think about that playground. What do I mean by that? It's like, well, it's like kids, when you put them in like a sort of like school-like environment, they're kind of like almost like enslaved in that environment. They can't really, they try wandering off, the teacher tells them off or something like that, and they have to get forced back in. It's almost like school. I don't want to kind of get too much into that though, but it's almost like, I always find it funny that schools are very much like prisons, you know what I mean? There's very, very similar like codes of conduct, very similar, like you have to follow the authority in the school, or you get like kind of like ostracized, or you might even get excluded, or maybe not excluded, but you might like get something done to you badly, or you might get kind of told off in a very horrible way. But anyway, but I don't want to get too much into that, but down the rabbit hole.
Oh, where were you, Small Sonic? Big Sonic, I was talking about that weird place. Well, please continue talking to me about that weird place. Big Sonic, it's such a bizarre thing. I saw weird, wild, whimsical things in that place. There was like flying objects, metallic android-like things with guns, and it was so weird, Big Sonic. Well, Small Sonic, if it's so wildly insane, give me, at least show me where it is. I'll show you in a minute, but I want to keep describing it first, Big Sonic. Okay, Small Sonic, go ahead. Big Sonic, it's so weird. There was like a weird object, I couldn't describe it, and this huge thing at the front. It's like a weird, it's almost like it came from a different planet or a universe. It's like a wildly large piece of like construction work or something in the way that I can't get through, and there's like androids at the front, and I can't. Big Sonic, it's so insane. Well, I gotta see it soon then, Small Sonic. I'll try.
Think about the movie The Matrix. Honestly, I think so. That we're always like, I think we only, again, I covered this so much in my other videos, but we always get given like almost like a small percentage of the total amount of truth. There's always like a small percent that we get shown. The rest of it is just like covered up. It's like kind of kept in the back pocket, and whoever's like in charge, they get to see that thing that's like covered up that me and you probably have no clue about. Down the rabbit hole, basically. Where am I going with this? You know, like the concept of a rabbit hole. The rabbit digs the hole, supposedly. Maybe that might not be very scientific. I haven't actually ever seen a rabbit, even maybe wild rabbits. I actually used to have a pet rabbit, and I never seen him try and like dig a hole. Maybe it's because he was like in a nanny. I don't want to get too much into that, but down the rabbit hole. A rabbit digs a hole, but where does it lead to? There's like that mystery, that intrigue, and that relates to our world as well. There's like all these concealed things. It's like there's like this, like it's almost like there's this separate dimension that's here, almost like another world, a reality, another civilization that's kind of like kept on the down low, so that me and you, us ordinary folk, we don't get to wander into that secret civilization and society. We are trapped in the ordinary world, and these other, like the oligarchs and these supernatural creatures, like the aliens or whatever, the greys, if they're actually real, they get to like experience this hidden reality. And down the rabbit hole, you have to go so deep down the rabbit hole to even have a clue about what I'm talking about, because all of it sounds quite fucking insane. It sounds quite ludicrous, but there is 100%, so I think so. There is like a completely like different world that's been like covered up, concealed, kept away from our eyes. It's quite bewildering. Down the rabbit hole, think about how deep it all goes. The mystery, the intrigue, the conspiracies. It's so wild once you think about it. It's so insane. What's actually going on in this world? Obviously, we'll never know the full truth with a capital T, but it's always good to like contemplate on these sorts of things, to really question your own reality, your own psyche, and to think a bit more abstractly about this. Down the rabbit hole, where does the rabbit hole go towards? It's like it goes so deep, but where's the end point of the rabbit hole? It's kind of bizarre. It's quite bizarre indeed. Where does it all lead to? Where does it go? Down the rabbit hole. Where does it lead to? Where does it go? There's no clear...
Big Sonic, well, here we are. And can you see that weird thing there? I can't see it, Small Sonic. And there's the androids, but they are frozen for whatever reason. Big Sonic, I'm so scared. Big Sonic, what if they come alive and they try shooting us? I tried to go closer, but there might be something preventing that, and I'm scared that I might cause them to come alive and they might begin shooting at me. Big Sonic, what do you think all that stuff is? Can you see that? This white big thing? This weird metallic object. It's pretty wild piece of infrastructure. What do you think it's for, Big Sonic? Small Sonic, it seems to be some weird type of construction. I can't really recall properly, but those are like, that's a gun right there, so I don't want to get too close. And I can only speculate as to what this is leading towards. But Small Sonic, seems to be quite ludicrous indeed. And the weird object there, and the personnel at the front.
Can't answer. It's so mesmerizing to think about this, to where like these sorts of questions about life and need and etc. and stuff like that. It's fascinating, but it's ultimately kind of meaningless too. It's very, very much meaningless. But down the rabbit hole, it's so important that you kind of like explore outside of like this sort of like box that you've been put in by your like parents and society. You try and like get outside of that box. It's like kind of like safe environment, like a playground. You get out of the box and you have to go down the rabbit hole to see where it leads towards. Hopefully it leads you towards some like place of enlightenment. Because when you're like younger, you get put into this box, this playground environment. You're not properly seeing the world. You're not properly like being tuned into the world around you. You're kind of like in a playground. in this type of fantasy world that was like given to you by your society and your upbringing and your parents. You have to look outside of that, play that box that you've been put in, and the only way you're going to do that is by going down the rabbit hole and seeing where it leads.
You're right, Small Sonic. If we try getting a bit closer, we could potentially trigger something very badly, and they might start shooting at us. Big Sonic, what if I go closer and I can't, I'm too scared. Yeah, he's got a gun, Small Sonic. You don't want to trigger that. If he starts shooting at you, we're going to be done for. Big Sonic, but what do you suppose this weird construction is? Small Sonic, it appears to be some form of like entrance towards some weird location. There appears to be some sort of underground tunnel. Just making like inferences from a distance is quite insane indeed. But we shouldn't be getting too close. We need to move back a bit, because they might start shooting at us. Oh damn, I can only speculate, Small Sonic, but this place seems to be freaking crazy. And I can only speculate as to where it leads, and I'm none the wiser, Small Sonic. Big Sonic, it's a fucking wild place.